Okay, we're going to get started with the presentation. My name is Joy Botting, and I'm an HR manager at AgriLife HR here in College Station. I've shared my PowerPoint presentation with you, so you should be able to see it on your screen. And as I said, I'm going to record the presentation, and it should be available for playback tomorrow at the link shown here on this slide, which is our training website. I can also email you a copy of the PowerPoint slides today if you'd like, and just email me and let me know. Somebody still needs to mute their mic, please. And my email address will be at the end of the presentation. Also, if you have questions, we're going to ask y'all to hold your questions till the end, and we'll address them then, or you can email me your questions. Okay, here we go. We're going to talk about performance evaluations, and we're going to concentrate on the non-faculty support staff evaluation in Great Jobs. Now, if you have to do faculty evaluations or extension position evaluations, we're not going to get into details on those today, because those are also done in Great Jobs but uploaded on other forms, and they use Great Jobs to store those. So today basically we're going to talk about the Great Jobs performance evaluation. We're going to go through step-by-step examples with some screenshots from Great Jobs. And first I'm going to talk about the various user types, because this is applicable whether you're a unit contact, an employee, a supervisor, or a department head. So we'll talk about each of those. And just a little bit of basic info. Evaluations should, guess I hit a key there. Evaluations should be done on all budgeted employees that are working 50% effort or more. So they're not required to be done for wage employees. Everybody that's going to be evaluated needs to first have an approved position description in Great Jobs, and that's what you use to create the performance evaluation. We review PDs each year at performance evaluation time to make sure that any updates to their job duties are necessary. So if an employee doesn't look at them all during the year, as long as they look at them at performance evaluation time, that would be the thing to do. They should also be reviewed and certified by the employee and the supervisor in Great Jobs anytime an update is made throughout the year. Also, if you have a new hire in the system, they should certify their PD at the time they're hired. And if an employee is reclassified, they also need to certify their PD. But right now, as part of the annual evaluation process, once they do their performance evaluation, that also suffices to certify their PD for the year. Okay. The highlights of performance evaluation process is just to remember that they have to be routed online for signatures. We have a section on objectives and goals and a section for development plan, and those always require at least one entry, and we'll talk about how to do that. And then to remember that the system policy requires you to do a face-to-face performance evaluation meeting with each of your employees if you're a supervisor. Once an evaluation has been completed by the supervisor and it's sent to the employee can return it to the supervisor if they need to have any edits made. And we'll go over how to do that in a little bit. Employees need to review each page of their evaluation, and then they acknowledge it at the end and send it to their supervisor. Each evaluation this year has to be completed by May 31st. And when we say completed, that means it has to be routed through all the signature process and then finalized by the unit head by May 31st. And these are the different user types that are available in Great Jobs, and each of them have different access options. They're assigned at the time by each unit's HR contact when their user account is created. And if it changes during the year, let's say an employee also needs to become a supervisor and you need to add that user type, you can just contact us here in HR and we can add that user type to their account. So when you first log in to Great Jobs, as I said, the user type determines what they're able to do in Great Jobs. And some folks may have multiple user types. So it's important to remember that they need to change their current group to the appropriate user type when they're getting ready to do evaluations. So for example, your department head may also be a supervisor. So depending on what he or she's trying to do in Great Jobs, they need to select supervisor versus unit department head. So right now we're going to focus on the performance evaluation module, and in Great Jobs in the column on the left-hand side there's a section called Evaluations, and the employee user type can choose either pending evaluations for the current year, or if they want to view previous year evaluations they can select historical. The supervisor user type has these three options. They can begin a new performance evaluation, or look at pending evaluations, or again go back and look at historical evaluations for the folks that they have supervised. Once the evaluation's been routed into a completed status, it moves into historical evaluations. So that's where you should be able to find all of them. And then for unit department head user types, they have two options under evaluations. One is where they can select pending ones, which these are the ones they need to finalize each year. And then again, historical, where they can look back on any previous evaluations. And finally, for those of you that have unit contact user type, you can begin a new evaluation here, or you can search on evaluations that are in process. And this is where you would go as a unit contact to kind of track the status for the evaluations for your unit. Click on Search Evaluations, and then it'll bring up on the next screen different ways to search on pending evaluations, where they are in the routing process. So y'all should really use this function throughout the performance evaluation process to see where your unit's evaluations are, to remind employees and supervisors that they need to sign them and move them along through the process so that they're going to be completed by May 31st. There's really just four main steps in the evaluation process. In step one, when a supervisor has completed the online evaluation, the supervisor would save it but not submit it yet, so that the employee, they'll have a chance to meet face-to-face to discuss the evaluation. And a lot of times supervisors will just print out a hard copy and go over it with their employee. Sometimes they both sit together at the computer and look at it on the screen. In step two, after the supervisor has gone ahead and met with the employee, then they send it to them in Great Jobs for them to review and sign. The employee should review the whole evaluation. We'll go through the steps how to do that, and view any attached documents, and we'll talk about how to attach documents. And then at that point, the employee can either forward it on and acknowledge it, or return it back to the supervisor if edits are needed. In step three, if any edits are needed, then the supervisor would make those and send it back to the employee for another review. If no edits were made or needed, then the supervisor sends it on to the unit head for final approval. And then step four, the unit or department head can review it. However, they don't have the capability to make edits. So that's one thing, that they can send it back to the supervisor to make any necessary edits, or they can route it to a completed status. So now we're just going to go over the specific steps in the evaluation process, from creating the evaluation to actually routing it into a completed status. So the supervisor begins the evaluation. They're usually initiated by the supervisor, but unit contacts also have the capability to begin it, and then they can save it so that the supervisor can actually access it and start, filling it out. However, the unit contact needs to make sure that they are listed on the position description so that they can begin and create a new one. If the employee has more than one supervisor, this happens a lot. Only one supervisor should actually complete the evaluation in Great Jobs, and it should be decided ahead of time which supervisor is going to do that. And then the other supervisors can submit their comments and feedbacks to that lead supervisor, and then he or she, I'm sorry for those dings. The supervisor can include the other supervisor comments in the evaluation. So if you're going to be a supervisor and you're going to log in and start the evaluation, again, make sure your user type up at the top is set to supervisor, and then click on Begin New Performance Evaluation where that yellow arrow is pointing. And there's two types of evaluations to choose from in Great Jobs, and this is where some folks get confused. The non-faculty or the other storage option. The online competency-based evaluation is the one we use for non-faculty and support staff, and that's what today's focus is on for option number 1. The other approved performance evaluations, option 2, is used for faculty and extension positions only. The process kind of works the same way for that option, except you actually download evaluation forms and attachments. So in order to begin the online competency-based evaluation, you would click on the little link there that says Start Action. And the first screen that comes up at the top of the screen, it shows the 5 performance evaluation ratings that we use and gives a little bit of a description of each type. And then about halfway down the rest of the screen is where the supervisor can select which employee they want to start the evaluation on. You can search for that by the employee's user account, which is their last name, first name. You can search on it by position title or by the PIN number. Now, a lot of times supervisors will say, I don't see my employee's name in this drop-down menu. They should contact the departmental HR contact for help, because that could mean that either the supervisor is not listed on the employee's PD, or maybe the employee's name has not been attached to their PD yet. So there might be some various issues that need to get corrected before they can see them in that drop-down box. And then the last button on that screen says Cancel Evaluation. If you click on that, it's just going to take you back to the previous page. The employee that is selected will appear when you click on their name, and then you just click on the Start Action link to begin the online evaluation. Don't click on the one that says View Summary, because that won't let you make any edits on the evaluation. All supervisors should click on that blue supervisors link before starting an evaluation. What that is it takes you to a pop-up page that has important info regarding the whole performance evaluation process, including the steps for having the conference with the employee, descriptions of the ratings, and more. The pop-up page can be printed out for future reference, so you don't have to access it each time you start an evaluation. But it is important that the supervisors review that information that's provided there. Okay, so this is the first page of the online evaluation. The supervisor should enter the evaluation cycle in that drop-down menu. I would always select annual because we just do annual performance evaluations. The cycle begin and end date boxes should be filled in, and for most of our support staff and non-faculty employees, the cycle begin date is always April 1st of the previous year. So this year it'll be 4/1/13, and the cycle end date will be March 31st of 14. If you have an employee that was hired after April 1st, so sort of a new hire, just enter their hire date in the cycle begin date field. Now, I get this question a lot. What if an employee was hired more recently in the last 3 months or so? And the rule is if an employee has at least 90 days of regular service as of the end of March, they should have an evaluation done. So that means if you have a new hire who was hired after January 1 of 2014, no evaluation is required. However, it can be done if you want to. And here's something else to consider. If we have merit increases this year, and you want to submit a merit increase request for an employee effective September 1, they do have to have a current evaluation on file, even if they were hired after January 1. So that's something to think about that's one of the requirements for a merit increase. So even though we say you don't have to do one if they're hired after January 1, you would have to have one done if you want to give them a merit increase. And then the last box there, the date of evaluation, that's the day you actually have your sit-down face-to-face evaluation with the employee. And I know those should not be prior to March 31st because you're actually evaluating the employee on their performance through March 31st. So those date of evaluations should be April 1 and moving forward. And then the rest of that screen is just information. You would scroll down and make sure all the info is correct. Okay, the next page, once you have all the evaluation details completed, the supervisor can continue on to the next page by either clicking on the tab at the top that says Essential Duties and Responsibilities, or they can use the Continue to Next Page button. Both of those buttons will get you where you need to go. And if you've left any information out on this page that's required, a message will pop up and prompt you to complete it before it will let you go on to the next page. Now this screen is where the position description job duties can be viewed. Those are pulled over from the position description and show on this screen here. Those should be reviewed and discussed with the employee. If the supervisor decides they want to change any of the job duties at this point, then they have to save the evaluation and log in and go into the position description module and update it separately there. Now, both the supervisor and the unit contact have the ability to begin an update to a position description. As I said, access the position description module and begin a new action to update the PD if you want to change the job duties. This step could be done after the evaluation is completed, but if the employee and supervisor want to do it prior to the evaluation being completed, then there's an extra step involved at this point. If you want the updates to be reflected on the performance evaluation, you're going to have to cancel the evaluation at this point, log in and update the PD, and then begin a new performance evaluation so that it'll pull the duties into that. And it doesn't matter as far as HR is concerned. A lot of times, the employee would insist their duties be updated before they certify their evaluation, or you can just let them know that you will take care of that after the fact, so you don't have to cancel it. So it's really up to you, the supervisor, how they want to work on that. At this point, if you're ready to go on to the next screen, you can click on the tab across the top called Evaluation Factors, or you can just use the Continue to Next Page button, which is at the bottom of this screen. Now, we'll talk a little bit about job evaluation factors, or competencies is another word to use for them. All employees are going to be rated on each of these factors. And we have a really good resource on our website called Competency Development, which gives a definition of each of these competencies along with some additional resources on them. The link to that document is at the bottom of this slide. It's in our Supervisor Toolkit under Performance Management, and then it's called Competency Development. So I suggest if y'all need some help in those, to understand what they are, to access that document. Okay, so be aware that a response is required for each competency, and comments are also required to be entered at the end of each section. Please make sure that you, and as a supervisor, or if you're a unit head or unit contact, please make sure your supervisors don't enter things like good job, good job, good job in each of the boxes. Don't put no comment or NA. But really you should use that opportunity to state why you rated the person the way you did. And especially if you choose a rating of needs improvement or unsatisfactory, use that box to enter, what the employee might need to do in order to improve their performance in that area. And we ask that the unit heads review all the supervisor comments before they finalize the evaluation, and send it back to the supervisor for edits if comments are not correctly written. This is a real important part of the evaluation process. Now, a lot of times employees will also be a supervisor, and so there's a separate tab for supervisor evaluation factors that should be completed. Again, a response is required for each category, and comments are required at the end of that section. And if your employee is not a supervisor, you can just skip to the next tab or use the Continue to Next Page button. Now we'll talk a little bit more about performance objectives and goals. Objectives and goals really should be, if the employee is able to meet them, it will help their job performance, and if they need assistance in certain areas, it will help line them out in what they need to do to successfully accomplish their job duties. You can enter multiple objectives and goals, and Great Jobs will allow you to edit them, delete them, view them, etc. We'll show the screenshots for how to do that coming up. And the development plan is also very important to include in the evaluation. It's basically anything that can help the employee with their job training, courses that you'd like them to take, other approaches that will help them accomplish their job duties. And we suggest to include some specific timetables for that, so that that'll give them a way to meet those goals and objectives, and it's just a little plan for them. And again, if you're trying to get some corrective actions done to help them in their performance, that would be the place to list all of that. Okay, so the performance objectives and development plan, that section on the evaluation does require you to put at least one entry in each of those. If you want, you can upload them as separate documents, And if you do that, still go ahead and type in the statement that a document is attached so that the employee will know to view that tab. So some additional info on that, employees can actually write his or her own goals and objectives and bring it to your meeting. And then the supervisor and employee can agree on the ones they want to use for the upcoming year. You can also work on the development plan, and then you can attach them as a separate document, or you can enter them directly to the online form. And again, I'll show you how to do that. We have some good resources to help supervisors write performance objectives and development plans. On our website, again, it's in the Supervisor Toolkit under Performance Management, and highly recommend y'all to review over that to get some extra help on that area. Okay, so on this page, there's currently no objectives and goals entered. And in the boxes provided, that's where the supervisor could manually type in all the goals and objectives and the development plan. And then they would click Add New Entry. It's got the instructions up there at the top. If you decide you want to attach these items as a separate document, you can do that on the next tab called Attached Documents. But please remember to type in these boxes, See Document Attached. That way they'll know something is attached to look at on the next page. Then it's going to allow you to use the Continue to Next Page button, which will be at the bottom of the page, to go on. If you choose to add new entry and put the info into the objective goals and development plan boxes, this is what your page might look like. Where I have typed there, Objective 1 is to blank, blank, blank. The supervisor can click on View to look at the whole thing. They can click on Edit if they want to change some of the wording, or they can delete it if they don't want to use that one. So then when you're done adding all your goals, objectives, and development plan, you would continue to next page. If the supervisor prefers to attach the objectives, goals, and development plan as separate documents, this is where you would do that. You just click on the Attach link there on the page, and then you would click on the little Browse button where number 1 is pointing to. You would locate and select the file wherever you have it stored in your files, and click Open, and then click Attach, and the system will prompt you to confirm the attachment. Or you can actually copy the document, cut and paste it into the box provided where number 2 is pointing there. It's a text box. Again, be sure to click on the button that says Attach and then confirm it. So now you're going to be able to continue on to the Performance Summary tab at the top of the page, or use the Continue to Next Page button. And just as a reminder to y'all, option 1 on this slide is also how supervisors or unit contacts would attach the extension performance reviews, as well as the faculty performance documents, if you use the other storage option type of evaluation, which we're not going over today, but this would be, those steps would work the same way for attaching those documents. Okay, so on the Performance Summary tab, there's several important sections here. The first section is the Additional Evaluator Comments box, where the supervisor can list additional information that wasn't previously addressed within the evaluation itself. It's not required to be completed. If other comments are received, maybe from other supervisors or coworkers, those can be entered and documented here as well. And y'all can read what the instructions state, but It's also good if you need to have address some performance issues. You could provide a statement there as to what the employee needs to do to make those improvements. The next section in that tab is the performance summary rating itself. That is a required field, and it's where you evaluate the employee on their job responsibilities based on all your previous comments. You should consider strengths and limitations, and then their overall success in fulfilling their position description responsibilities. And the best way, we recommend folks is to look at each of the ratings that you've checked on the evaluation and just kind of add them up and summarize them to come up with an overall rating based on the individual ratings. So in other words, if you've rated somebody outstanding on the majority of the competencies, you wouldn't want to make their overall summary just say effective. They kind of have to tie together. The final three sections on this page are for employee comments. It's the employee acknowledgement section, and then the unit head or other administrator comments box. No data entries required by the supervisor for these last three sections. The two employee sections are going to be available for the employee to enter their info on once the evaluation's been sent to them. And at the bottom of the page, to advance it, you would click Continue to Next Page. And that tab is called the Notes and History tab. And I'll go over this a little bit because sometimes people don't understand how to use this to their advantage. Basically, this section always reflects the status of the performance evaluation form and the history of when it was modified or routed and who did it and the date. No data entries required there, but it's just a good little history of when it was started so you can kind of find out who has it in the routing process. In order to move on, you would click the View Evaluation Summary tab at the bottom of the page. And be real careful here, if you click the Cancel button, the entire evaluation would be canceled and you'd have to start over. So be real careful about not clicking there. At this point, the supervisor can print out a hard copy of the evaluation form. There's a little link up there that says printer-friendly version, and that will print it out for you so that you can use it to meet with your employee. You can save the evaluation and not submit it yet. Let's say you're not ready to send it to the employee at this time. So under evaluation status, you would choose that first option. And then once you've done your evaluation meeting with your employee, you can log back in to Great Jobs and search for that evaluation using the Pending Evaluations choice, and then click View, and then you would send it to Employee for signature. Remember, if you use that Save Without Submit, you can find all of your saved evaluations under Pending Evaluations. You won't need to begin a new one each time. If any changes are needed before you print it out or before you send to the employee for signature, you can get back to editing it by clicking on that red Edit link at the top where it says Edit, and make your changes and save it. If the supervisor selects Send Evaluation for Employee Signature, the system will ask for confirmation and give you the option to go back one last time if you need to. This page will confirm that the evaluation just submitted has been sent to the employee for signature, and it will show any other pending evaluations that may need action by the supervisor. So again, just let me reiterate that you'll need to have your sit-down meetings with your employees before you send it to them in Great Jobs for signature. So now we're going to talk about what happens when the employee actually gets the evaluation form. When the supervisor clicks send, the employee is going to receive an email that states these 6 simple steps to take. The email address that is on file in Great Jobs when the user account is set up is where these automated emails are going to go. So if you need to make sure you have the right email addresses in Great Jobs for your employees so that they'll get these automated emails, give me a call or call your HR generalist, and we can make those updates to their user account. It doesn't tie or interface to their existing work emails, so it's a separate system and we have to keep those updated. If you're a supervisor or unit contact, please encourage your employees to follow these steps that they get in the email. It's got the link right there to SSO so that they can get into Great Jobs. It reminds them to change their user type to employee and how to access their evaluation in order to view it. Okay, so here we are. The employee is going to log in and click under Pending Evaluations, and that's how they will access their PD. If they click on Historical, that's going to show all the previous year's evaluations. If they get the message here that says No Results Found, after they click on Pending, that means that their evaluation has not been submitted yet by the supervisor. So some employees like to log in and start looking for their evaluations before they get that email. And if the supervisor has not submitted it to them, they're not going to be able to see it. And this is what their screen will look like. If it is out there and ready for them to view, they will see it pop up like this with the status of sent for their signature. And they need to click on the link that just says View. When you click on View Summary, it's not going to allow them to go through each tab and look at their evaluation. Employees must go through each page by clicking on the Continue to Next Page button. They can't really skip any pages, and then when they get to the end, there's a question that they must answer regarding if they've completed their required online training. That's on the Performance Summary tab. So once they've gone through everything, now their evaluation is ready to send back to their supervisor. And we'll talk about there's 2 options at that point that the employee can do. Before they get to the end of the evaluation, if the employee wants to attach a document to their evaluation, this is the tab and the way they would do it. Also, if the supervisor had attached anything, this is where the employee can view it as well. In this example on this screenshot, no documents have been attached by the supervisor. Okay, so on the Employee Performance Summary page, this is the final tab. The employee needs to review any supervisor comments that have been provided, and it gives them an opportunity to add comments in the box there. The employee here, where the yellow arrow is pointing, that's the question that's required for them to answer to confirm whether they're current on all their required training as of the date of the evaluation. They have to certify that. And supervisors, when you get this back from your employees, you really need to review their answer to that and talk with them about it and find out why they were not able to complete it. See if you can get that done as part of their evaluation process. The employee acknowledgement statement here, employees need to read that because basically it's saying that they understand that the evaluation has been conducted for them. It does not mean that they have to agree with everything in it, but that they're just acknowledging it was conducted and that they reviewed their job duties. Sometimes employees think they don't want to sign it because they don't agree with it, but that's not what this statement is saying. When the employee chooses to send it to supervisor on the next page, that's confirming if they've acknowledged it based on the statement above. And that's what we call the electronic signature. So they don't actually have to sign anything. It's just an electronic signature, which is required on all of our performance evaluations. So you click Continue to Next Page to complete the process. On this page, the employee can print out a hard copy of the evaluation for their records by clicking on the printer-friendly version link. And they have two options here. Well, actually, they have three options under evaluation status. If they choose to send evaluation to supervisor for edits and continue, that will not complete their evaluation process. And I'm talking about this because this is kind of a confusion for employees on what the difference is between these two options. If the employee chooses that option and thinks their evaluation needs some edits or some changes, they need to talk with their supervisor and contact them, let them know that certain changes or edits are requested. Then the supervisor is going to have to make those edits and resubmit it to the employee in Great Jobs for their review and signature. If the employee chooses the last option there where it says Employee Acknowledgement Confirmed, send to supervisor, that will complete this part of the process for the employee. That confirms that they've received it and reviewed it. Some cases, the employee might not be ready to send to supervisor at the time. They want to think about it or read it again or whatever, so they can use the Save option and then click Continue. In order to access their evaluation later and send it to supervisor, they can find it under Pending. So later they can go back and then choose Send to Supervisor. So they do have the option to save it on this screen. If the employee is ready to send it on, they would click Confirm. Click the Confirm button here, and that's where it will send it on to their supervisor. So now we're back. The evaluation has gone back to the supervisor, and Great Job. So if y'all can just bear with me, we're almost done with this process. When the employee sends it to the supervisor will get an automated email with instructions on how to access it. Again, make sure all your supervisors have a correct email address on file for their user account so that they can receive these automated emails in a timely manner. If the employee sent it to the supervisor without a request for edits, they get a different little bit of an email that says it's ready for their review. The supervisor would log in per the instructions in the email and click on Pending Evaluations, and then you might see several of their employees' evaluations that need action. So in this example, there's only one pending evaluation requiring action that an employee has returned to the supervisor. So in order for them to open it, the supervisor should click on the View link, not the View Summary link. Click on the Continue to Next Page button, or you can click on each tab to go through all the tabs and review the evaluation after the employee has returned it to you. The supervisor should definitely check the Attached Documents tab to see if the employee's attached any documents and to view them prior to sending it on to unit head for final approval. In this example, the employee did not attach any documents to the evaluation, so there's not any to view. Supervisors should also click on the Performance Summary tab to review the employee comments section and read any employee comments that may have been entered, as well as to check that the employee answered yes to that statement on completing the required training. And again, if the training has not been completed, the supervisor really should counsel with their employees to make sure that that's completed in a timely manner. Then you can click on the View Evaluation Summary button at the top of the page to go to the final step where you'll send it to the unit head. If the supervisor has completely reviewed their performance evaluation for their employee and any applicable documents, then they would choose Send to Unit Head and then click the Continue button and confirm it as previously shown. And Unit Head means whoever is designated as the unit head on the position description. So usually that's the department head or the center directors. And this is the last step in the process where the unit or department head reviews and approves the position description. The performance evaluation. The unit or department head will receive an automated email, and notice in step 2 of the instructions, they might need to change their user type because a lot of unit heads are also supervisors. So they need to be careful what user type they are logged in so that they can see the correct evaluation process. Again, make sure you have good emails on file for the recipients to get these automated emails. The unit or department head would log in and select pending evaluations. They may see multiple evaluations at this status that need to be reviewed and finalized prior to May 31st. They would click on the View link next to the employee's evaluation that they're wanting to review. They can go through each page and tab to view the evaluations, view the attached documents, and view all the comments. And actually, as a reminder, unit heads cannot make any edits to performance evaluations. If they see something they want changed, they'll have to choose the option to return it back to the supervisor for edits. The unit or department head can add comments on the Performance Summary tab at the bottom of the page. They can also attach documents if they would like to have a note to file attached, as we previously discussed. And then when they're done, they click the View Evaluation Summary button at the bottom of the page. So here the unit department head has 2 choices. They can finalize the evaluation by choosing Evaluation Complete, or they can return it to the supervisor and request that changes be made by choosing the Send Evaluation to Supervisor for Edits button. So let's just say the evaluation is perfect, so the department head chooses Evaluation Complete, clicks the Continue button, and confirms it on the next page as usual, and the process is done. If the evaluation needs to go back to supervisor for edits, click this button. Now, no automated email is sent, so the unit head would actually have to contact that supervisor and let them know what kind of edits they need to have made. A final email is sent to the employee and the supervisor to let them know that the unit head has finalized their evaluation. And then for anybody that wants to go back and look at it, whether they're the unit head, unit contact, or supervisor, they can locate all the finalized evaluations under the Historical Evaluations link in that left-hand toolbar. Okay, so we're done. That's a lot of details for y'all. I hope the step-by-step was helpful. Additional resources can be found on our website under Supervisor Toolkit, and then click on Performance Management. We have things there such as timelines of when all the different evaluations are due, all the different evaluation forms, some frequently asked questions, links to all the policies and procedures can also be found in that link. Or, you can always just call or email us and we'll be happy to help you out as well. And I just want to thank y'all for participating today. If you have any questions, you can email them to me, or we can open up here in a few minutes for questions. And remember, the recorded workshop is going to be available tomorrow on the Training and Development website. You can share it with other supervisors and anybody really in your department, or I can email you the PowerPoint and you can send those as well. So if y'all have any questions, if you want to unmute your microphones. I will do my best to answer them. Thank you. I don't think anybody's having any questions, or if they are, I'm not able to hear them. So just email me. My email address there is joy-botting@tinmu.edu, and I will reply to your email as quickly as possible. Thanks. Y'all have a great weekend.